All right. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I want to welcome you to this evening's class. How has been our other classes, our lectures, our homes, and our families? I want to believe we are well, we are fine, and we are safe. We hope that this whole challenge will end very quickly so that we can all get back to our normal activities again. So I want to welcome you. We're having QAC 601, which is quality assurance and quality control. We started the course last week, Saturday, where we introduced the concept of quality assurance and quality control. And in that class, we talked about what quality is. We looked at the concept of quality. We looked at we're able to look at the definition and how quality came to be, how it was, how it became a major part to play in industrial processes. We're also able to look at, you know, uh, the fact that quality can never be judged in isolation. You cannot judge quality in on its own without having a reference point. And I remember very clearly, I use examples like NAFDAC and SON that the only reason why we have regulating bodies is because they are supposed to check for what is called standard. So if they came to your facilities, one of the things that they are going to be checking for is the requirement if you meet up with the standard. Okay, and we differentiated several terminologies on that day from which we defined quality assurance, quality control. We now and I think that was where we wrapped up the class. Okay, we also talked about good manufacturing practice, and we looked at the components and manufacturing management system. These are very, very vital and important topics which we are going to be considering this afternoon, and I hope we will be able to do that before the day, before the class ends. Okay, so quality assurance and quality control QAC 601. Want to look at product selection, suppliers, and manufacturers. Having understood the concept of quality assurance and quality control, and of course, good manufacturing practice, one of the key elements in managing and dealing with quality is your materials. If you look at poor quality management, we said there are 6 causes of poor quality. Okay, in QAQC, we said there are 6 causes of poor quality, which are all divided into what we call the 6 M's. The first one is man, second one is material, the third is methodology, we have management, we have modern nature, and lastly we have the material also. Okay, so um these 6 points are the things to check for that causes poor quality, and to be able to address the one of the causes of poor quality and be able to get the right ingredients or tools for us to have standards. One of the things to consider is what is called product selection, suppliers, and manufacturer. That is because you will hardly work alone. If you're producing something, you might not have had a system where you have what is called vertical integration. And so you have to depend on other people working as a team or as an entity for the production of what you need. Okay, and if quality must be achieved, all these various essential sectors must come together for you to effectively have quality. So here you are, you're producing you produce dairy products, for instance, you produce yogurt, okay, and as a yogurt producer, you know that one of your key ingredients that you need for production of your yogurt is milk, cow milk, but you do not have a farm. And since you do not have a farm, you will have to rely on your suppliers. You are into production of building materials, but you do not produce all the building materials. You have to depend on the electrical companies to supply your electricals. You have to depend on the mechanical to supply your gadgets. Okay, video is restored now. You must take into cognizance and into account all the various suppliers and with respect to your manufacturer. So say finding and selecting the best suppliers an essential first step to managing product quality. Choosing the wrong supplier and you could face a lot of delays, you could face poor quality, you could face poor returns. We see building collapse today a lot. Why? Because of poor quality materials. What you quote on paper, when the suppliers bring it, you sometimes see what is totally different. So how do we make and avoid for all these kind of issues? First of all is what is called the accountability for quality issues. So we're looking at the things that you have to consider. So if I'm to strike a deal with a company X, probably from abroad or from Ghana or from South Africa, if I'm to strike a deal with a company from China, well, nobody wants to work with China again, or Germany, or even if it's internally within the country, if I'm to strike a deal and you're to be my supplier, what are the factors that I have to consider before I can start go into such a relationship with you? So first of all, said that company must have accountability for quality issues. Okay, so admitting to a mistake may be difficult, but when you're having the right suppliers that you're working with the right supplier, you can see my mouse. It takes accountability for their you know for their half of a deal that can make which can make the difference. So that's why accountability becomes important. What is accountability? When people accept they are wrong, when people are ready to take responsibility for what they do or what they did not do. Okay, so accountability is very, very important. A supplier with accountability will take responsibility for any quality problem and will be willing to fix it. A couple of years ago, Toyota company had a problem with one of their model RAV4 vehicles that they produced, and it was a mechanical problem such that you could just be driving your car and unintentionally the car will accelerate itself. So they had to do a product recall. Okay, and I think I get that assignment. They had to carry out a product recall. Okay, it's not in this class. I gave that assignment. They had to carry out a product recall of over 6 million vehicles worldwide, and it cost them literally billions of dollars. Okay, that is because they were able to take responsibility for their quality issues or quality problems. So you need to work with suppliers and people that are ready to take responsibility for their wrongs. Okay, but the supplier without accountability, of course, when things go wrong, you know that you're in trouble with such an organization. So a supplier that won't own up to their mistakes can hinder your ability to meet deadlines, production requirements, and quality. Secondly, we're going to be looking at 10 things. So I suggest you write so that you can get everything down as you proceed. I'm sharing my screen, and I think it's quite bold enough for anyone to see and be able to follow. Okay. So this next thing is production capabilities. Okay, but most important, understand the importance of looking out for suppliers who can actually manufacture the products that they want. In fact, most importers focus so much on production capabilities of a prospective supplier that they overlook their vital considerations or other vital considerations. Okay, so what we are saying is that you have to consider the production capabilities, and that means, can these people consistently meet my requirements? And one of the key elements we looked at last class, that product quality is the ability to consistently produce over time. So just look, are they capable to produce to the degree of excellence we want? Okay, and one of the ways you can do that, we say you can visit or carry out audit of their supplier system. You can visit, just like the picture that I'm sharing right now on the screen. You can see, you can visit their site. You can visit the site to see what they have. You can look into their inventory. You can look into their catalog. You can also ask for what is called product samples. Okay, what is product sample? Okay, you have promised that you're going to supply us this based on these specifications. Can we have a sample of what we are going to get, so that in the event where what is supplied is not what was in line with the prototype or agreed version of what was supplied to you, then you know that you can hold them accountable. And this happens a lot. So just discussion without having a prototype or a product sample is not always good. So we say obtain a product sample. You should ideally audit your suppliers and review what they have, and not only meeting up with what you want, but also with the capacity in terms of volume of what you want, because you do not want to keep your clients. Imagine Coca-Cola now. Coca-Cola has bottling company just about everywhere in the world. I mean, everywhere that I've traveled to, both in villages and cities, you can get Coca-Cola, and that is because they have been able to develop a system where, probably by vertical integration, where they produce everything that they need by themselves. Okay, so the third thing to consider when you're trying to have a suppliers is what is called expertise in your product type and target market. Now, there are different product types that are produced for different markets. You might be producing the same product, but what product will be very, very good for what market? Sadly, the Nigerian rules might not be good for some type of vehicles. Okay, the Nigerian market might not be good for some types of gadgets that do not have long lifespan of batteries, for instance. Okay, if you are using maybe a vehicle like that is very, very classy, that, and you know that you want to be moving around in town, moving in between states, and our roads are very poor, then you know that you must consider you must put that into consideration. So what are you producing? For what type of market do you want to meet that thing for? You must consider that. Okay, you can produce drips, for instance, in the US, but that might be the climate there is totally different from what you have. Maybe if you go to up north places like Sokoto, where you can be having the temperatures as high as 40 something or 30 something degree centigrade, very, very high. So you have to consider those factors. If the factory is experiencing importing your target market, they will also be familiar with what your quality and legal requirements. Most factories only specialize in manufacturing a single product category. A supplier that claims to have a wide variety of different products is most likely a trading company or a vendor and not a factory. You must also be careful with those that are looking for opportunities and businesses who say, okay, no, we can do this, we're into this, and they keep collecting or trying to make deals with you, and at the end, they are not meeting up well with the standard or requirement. There was a time that a friend of mine outsourced this job to this individual, okay, because he wanted to make some products, and this person said, okay, I have somebody that does it, but it was not his work, and he outsourced the job to somebody who was not a professional in that area, who went and actually the whole thing went wrong, and it was not a good deal at the end of the day. What is the point? The point was that what you must find the expertise that can do that job and the right market for it. Okay, let's run up, let's double up. The fourth thing to consider is culture fit. The best suppliers are willing to work with you. Okay, the key is to find suppliers whose goals align with yours, that you can work together. What kind of company do they typically work with? What is their minimum order? What do they know about your business? How detailed is their quote? Okay, so you have to put into consideration their culture fit. The best suppliers are willing to work with you if you can get the right one. Okay, the fifth thing to consider is ease of communication. Business and all of that has everything to do with communication. There could be language barrier. If you want to receive your products from probably maybe Finland, now you have to get somebody who speak Finnish language. That would be a language barrier. What about time? What about distance? How often are you going to be getting the product? You need an interpreter. What about the documents? Who will be reading the documents for you? All these things are factors you may consider. Now, even if you see that might be a challenge, you might now choose to say, okay, let us go to somewhere else. Even if it's within the country, how speedily can I get my product or service? Are there plane services where they can transport? Are there transportation companies that can easily move? How can we relate? How do we communicate? Is it by email? there has to be ease and speed of communication that can make your relationship very, very wonderful in terms of the speed of supply of products and services. Then there has to be cooperation with third party. Okay, cooperation with third party. This is the 6th point. Third party inspection has become a standard requirement for most importers and manufacturers. A quality supplier will comply with importers' request to have an outside inspector. Now, who is a third party? A third party agent is one who comes outside your company and the company of your supplier, uh, and or if you're the one in the supply chain, as it were, that can now come and carry out an audit, that can now come and check out what is happening. So if you're bringing in a supplier, I'm sorry, a third party that can carry out an audit that does not have any sympathy for any of the parties in question. So you must be able to check it out, bring a third party that can check it out, that can look at the customer relationship, look at the quality systems, look at the requirement, and be able to help in both cases. So as you can see in the picture, we said the same suppliers are also open to documentation and processes. Number 7, look out for the ethical compliance. What is ethics? Ethics is right and wrong, the way something is supposed to be done. You have to also work with suppliers that are very ethical in their dealings. They do what is right with respect to what is acceptable within the jurisdiction where they are. Okay, larger brands have made headlines in recent years for compliance in recent years, I beg your pardon, for social compliance violations in their supply chains. Okay, so you have to make consideration to that. What are their regulations? What are the guiding principles in that country? How do they operate? What do they accept? What do they not accept? Okay, you have to look at the ethical requirement, the ethical standard. Your products are not made with slave or child labor. Your products are made in safe working conditions. Your production timelines won't be delayed. Your retailers won't refuse to distribute your products. Your brand reputation is protected from negative press surrounding ethical or unethical sources. You have to make consideration of the ethical requirements of what you're doing. How right is this? Is it accepted within the jurisdiction where we find ourselves? And the 8th requirement is what is called regulatory requirement. This is where we talk about laws. Compliance talks about what is ethical, what is right and wrong. Now, what is right and wrong might not necessarily be legal. It might just be what is acceptable. When we talk about regulatory practice, is what is finable, is what you can be sued for. So aside from ethical compliance, importers are needed to ensure that their suppliers comply with laws for both manufacturing in their country. For instance, the border was closed recently, and it's not as if you could not bring in goods or services, but there are requirements, there are steps to follow. And if you must bring in, there are duties to pay and all of that. People were trying to, cut corners and all of that, apart from things that were banned completely. So what are the regulatory requirements for your products? A factory audit and credit check can help you verify a factory's legitimacy when looking for suppliers. Checking whether the supplier has a valid business license and export license can help you avoid problem, because imagine you are paid sum of 10 million naira as a company for the supply of your raw materials, and all of a sudden you learn that your supplier was not following requirement and standard, and all the goods have been impounded at the border, have been impounded in between states while they were coming in, and a lot of issues. They have to pay another fine of 1 million before they are released, and all the the time that is wasted. And at the end of the day, there are a lot of issues to deal with. So check their documentation, check their papers, check their certification, ask a lot of questions, because you want to surely be in business for a long time, and you want to follow the right standard. Clear and comprehensive record keeping. As I just said, let us see your quality standard. What are the quality requirements that you adhere to? Your packaging materials. We are working on a factory before COVID-19 challenge came up, and working with regulatory bodies like SON, actually SON and NAFDAC. We approached them. We have been talking with them. We took samples of our products for analysis. You know, they are going to come to check our facilities, our equipment, our staff had to do medical tests and all of those stuff. Why? Because we want to do everything right and have our certification, our licensing, so that when you come to our facility, you are going to see everything and have, you know, that right confidence in the product, you know, that we are offering. So you check all those regulatory requirements if they have them and if they are available. And number 10, we said there has to be a proactive approach. Okay, I'm missing something. Okay, that's number 10. Okay, lastly, a proactive approach and a proactive attitude towards continuous improvement. What is continuous improvement? You have done it well now, but will you remain the same way in the next 5 years? You are doing the correct thing now, but how about the next 2 years? There has to be a system of continuous improvement. Okay, you do not stay or remain where you are. You have to put in other measures to see that there is growth and improvement. So at the very least, quality conscious supplier should have an established quality management system that complies with, you know, ISO. ISO is a world standard for quality. Okay, to reduce waste and improve efficiency of operations. All right. So in conclusion, so the last point, number 10, is what there has to be continuous improvement. Now, finding a supplier can be one of the toughest, most stressful parts of sourcing a product. It is important to find a supplier that is easy to work with and will give you the best possible product. But what are the best qualities to look for? Communication, willingness to work with you, their statistics, their profile, their price, quality of their suppliers are all important indicators and boxes that you need to check before you can work with them. Just because a supplier shows you a few amazing products does not mean they can live up to your requirements and also your production capabilities. So consider these 10 characteristics of a good supplier will help you determine whether a particular supplier is best for your supply chain, your customers, as well as your business. So we are just a recap. We just looked at the 10 elements to check for, the 10 elements to look out for when you're dealing with what quality, with pari passu, your product, your selection, your supply chain, and your manufacturers. Look out for these various things so that at the end of the day, you can not only achieve good quality, but you will also be able to meet your target in terms of market activities and not have to deal with problems with respect to government laws and all of that. And your product will also get validation. Your product will get acceptance. Your product will get the market will easily to get sales. Exactly, sales. Okay, there are many products today that have weathered the storm, and over time, when you see them without asking questions, you're almost sure that this product is of inherently what excellent quality without asking many questions. So consider those 10 points in getting a good supplier and evaluation. Now, the next thing is quality management system, commonly called QMS. Quality management system. Quality management system. Now, a quality management system, QMS, is defined as a formalized system that documents processes, procedures, and responsibilities for achieving quality policies and objectives. Now, let us break this definition down. Here is your company, which is called ABC Food and Beverage Company Nigeria Limited. You have your objective and goals, and you're coming into an already existing market with so many products out there. Now, here are your objectives of what you want to produce and the services you want to render to the Nigerian people. Now, we said that if you want to implement a good quality management system, you want to achieve excellence in quality system and management, okay, which we said to do that, you will have to have a adequate and right system to document all your procedures, your policies, your responsibilities, and how you are going to achieve your objective. This is where quality management system comes in. Okay, so we said a quality management system helps to coordinate and direct an organization's activities to meet customer and regulatory requirements and improve their efficiency and effectiveness on a continuous basis. Now, time and over, we have mentioned ISO. Okay, let's talk a bit about ISO, which stands for International Organization for Standardization. Uh, Many a time, students make the mistake of seeing ISO as an acronym. ISO is not an acronym. Sometimes students say International Standard Organization. No, ISO stands for International Organization for Standardization, and they are one of the highest rating in terms of accreditation in different aspects. So if you're ISO certified, it shows your level and height at which you have been able to achieve certain level of quality. Now, it's not only limited to quality of product and service. We also have ISO with respect to environment and different other aspects. So the international standard for specifying requirements for quality management system is the most prominent approach to quality management system, called ISO 901.2015. While some use the term QMS, as I said, to describe ISO 901 standard or the group of documents detailing the QMS, it actually refers to the entirety of the system. Okay, so the documents are only, a guideline. Now, why should you have a good QMS? Now, let us put it in perspective, because ISO is more of referencing worldwide. It's more like me asking you, why should you have NAFDAC? Why should you have Standard Organization of Nigeria? Why should you work with Nigeria Institute of Standard, NIS? Why should you have all of this? So we said implementing a good quality management system affects every part of the organization. And so benefits of having this thing is that of having a good QMS, which of course comes under the auspices of the management of ISO, is that it helps you to meet customer requirements. Okay, and it also meets organizational requirement. For customer requirement, it is going to instill a level of confidence in the organization, and because of the customers. So when I pick a product now and I see the seal of ISO, I'm like, wow. Or I see kosher rating, I'm like, wow, this will have kosher rating. Why? Because it tells the level of how standardized that product is based on that rating. So me, if I'm a customer that I was buying, based on that alone, I'm comfortable to buy what I want to buy, because I believe that they are already of inherently high standard. So, and also organizational requirements. Now, these benefits offer other advantages. Okay, I hope you can hear me very clearly. Are we together? Okay, so let's move on. Now, the benefits offer additional advantage, like defining improvement. It helps to reduce waste when you follow quality management system. It prevents a lot of errors. It lowers cost for you because you are doing it right. You are not the facilitating and identifying training opportunities. You engage staff. Organization is able to expand and go wider. Your products are able to have wider reach beyond your immediate borders. You are not facing challenge of fines, of legal issues. Are you going to be locked down? You don't have to face challenges of bribery and corruption, because when third-party auditors come to carry out inspection of your facilities and products and services, you're not at risk. You're not afraid to be placed under lock and key. You're not hiding anything in your cupboard. Why? Because you have a good QMS system that you have developed that is aiding you to do the right thing. Okay, so let us look at the standards, okay, and the elements and requirements of quality management system. I would really like to finish this course, for at least for this one today. So ISO 901/2015 is the most recognized and implemented QMS standard in the world, as I said earlier on. Other standards relating to quality management include the rest of ISO's 9000 series, which is what we are working with now, and 9001. which is including ISO 9000 and ISO 9004. The ISO 1400 series has to do with environment. Okay, the quality systems are in series depending on which area you're dealing with. Okay, so ISO 13485 is quality management system for medical. Okay, ISO 19011 is for auditing management system. Okay, 16949 quality management system for automotive and other related products. So it's in different categories and different layers. I give us an example of earlier on of how we were discussing with Sun and NAFDAC, and they have categorization depending on what you want to get accreditation for. Different types of food, different types of tests, different types of activities to be conducted with different fees, with different requirements, with different standards to be met depending on what you are doing. So elements and requirements of a quality management system. Each element, I'm sharing my screen. Okay, you can see where the mouse is. Each element, that's where we are, elements and requirements of a quality management system. Each element of a QMS helps achieve the overall goals of meeting the customers and organizations requirements. Quality management system should address an organization's unique needs. However, the elements all systems have in common include the organization's quality policies and objectives, quality manual, procedures and instruction, commonly called the SOP, standard standard operating procedure, I beg your pardon, data management, internal process, customer satisfaction, and quality analysis. Okay, so how do I implement, how do I achieve, how do I bring in the quality management system we have been referring to all day into my organization and into my work? How do I implement and bring about a good quality management system is what we want to look at. Okay, so before establishing a good quality management system, the organization must identify and manage various connected multifunctional processes to help you for your customer satisfaction. Okay, this is commonly, viewed and called the PDCA cycle, which is called plan, do, check, and act. That helps for continuous improvement. Okay, so in the remaining 7 minutes that I have, let's quickly go to the principles, the quality management principles, which are actually 8 in number. The 8 quality management principles, the 8 quality management principles. So these are the principles, and they are very, very important. And every standardized organization or company that implements quality uses the 8 quality management principles. Now, the core set of requirements within the ISO revised 9001 standard does not define requirements, okay, just the language. Now, these principles were developed in the mid-1990s by a group of experts who were familiar with the teachings, okay, of quality gurus. So let's look at these principles very quickly and skip the stories. Now, first of all, you must every system or organization that has to achieve good quality must be customer focused. Organizations can establish this focus by trying to understand and meet their customers' current and future requirements. So there has to be proper customer focus. Then good leadership. Yes, good leadership. Without leadership, you cannot achieve quality. Forget about it. Cut it. No leadership, no quality. So organizations succeed when leaders are established and maintain internal environment in which employees can become fully involved in a goal to achieve quality. Then there has to be people involvement. Management cannot do it alone. Management has to work properly with the staff to see that quality is achieved. So there has to be people involvement. Management cannot achieve quality in isolation. It has to be with the involvement of all the staff within that particular organization. So there has to be proper involvement of people. Then what we call is process approach. Organizations enhance their performance when leaders manage and control their processes, as well as inputs and outputs that tie these processes together. So there has to be proper process approach. Then system approach to management. Process approach has to do with the steps in achieving quality, process approach, and system approach to management. System has to do with organization sustained success when there's what? A coherent quality management system. All units, the electrical department, the mechanical, the catering department, all the units are working together, the admin, they are working together as an organism, just like the body that has different parts. Okay, respiratory, digestive, excretory, reproductive, all in one body working as an entity. That is what is called system approach to management. Every department knows what they are supposed to do. The lecturers are doing their required work, the admin is doing their required work, in the school the cleaners are doing their required work, the students are doing their required work and putting in the best. Okay, so all this coming together can help us achieve what is called system approach to management. Then we explained earlier on about what continuous improvement. Improvement is not a one-time achievement. You cannot get achievement in quality today and say we have reached the peak of quality. No, there has to be continuous improvement with respect to quality. Then what is called factual decision making. The word factual is very, very important because we have to work with what we can see. Okay, so organizations succeed when they have established an evidence-based decision-making process that entails gathering input from what? Multiple sources, identifying these facts objectively, analyzing data, and of course taking their decision based on this analysis. So there has to be proper analysis and understanding and take decision based on fact. I wish I could have shared a video with us to see a couple of years ago. There was this team of people that went on an expedition, and on the expedition, before they took off, the engineers had already given that, listen, this journey is not advisable because from the fact of what we are seeing, there are problems, and they ignored the readings that we were getting from their gadgets and equipment, and they decided to go on the expedition, and all of them that went on that expedition died. Why? Because there was no factual approach to decision making. What are we seeing? This is not an emotional thing. Our outcome, our output is poor. What can we do about that? Is what it means to be factual, to look at the evidences, to look at the reality of what is on ground and take decision. Then the last one, which we have talked about, is what is called a mutually beneficial supplier relationship. Mutually beneficial supplier relationship. And we said firms must carefully manage their suppliers and their supply partners to nurture positive and productive involvement and support feedback. So we discussed that this mutually beneficial supplier relationship has been discussed extensively earlier on this afternoon. So because if your input is poor, definitely is going to affect what you're putting in, and the output will consequently be affected. So there has to be mutually beneficial supplier relationship. So these 8 points we just looked at are what we call the 8 principles of what? Quality management system: customer focus, leadership, people involvement, process approach, system approach, continuous improvement, factual approach to decision making, and a mutually beneficial supplier relationship. So our time is up, and we're going to just wrap it up here for today. We have spent our 40 minutes on the dot. Hopefully by next week, I'm going to be giving us an assignment that is going to cover for the whole course, and the email to also to send that assignment to. Thank you for being part of today's class. I wish you a wonderful weekend, and those of us that still have lectures, I wish you all a wonderful lecture this year for the remaining part of the day. And please do try and stay safe, and we pray that this whole scourge will be rolled away in no time. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.